Here's a question to ask yourself. Was Adam alive before God breathed into his nostrils? Think about that. Some people think that life begins as soon as the egg meets the sperm. Other people say it doesn't count until the baby takes its first breath. Hey guys, welcome back to Journey into the Bible. Today we're going to be talking about abortion. Okay, hot topic, right? Anyways, it was on all the ballots across the country and the United States last year. And here in Arizona, after all the hoopla was done and said, and all the efforts on both sides, well, abortion is now not only legal in Arizona, it's enshrined in our Constitution. But something I noticed in this last election here, everybody was trying to post memes about for abortion or against abortion, things like that. And the one that I kept seeing come up was Psalm 139. You know, that passage in Psalms where David is praying to God, he's talking to God, and he says something about, you've known me since my mother's womb, or you knit me in my mother's womb, something like that. Okay, so people are posting that and saying, vote yes or no on this prop. And click like if you believe. And I'm like, well, what does that mean to believe? Do you believe in Psalm 139? And so I want to ask Christians, is there a psalm that you don't believe? Okay, well, that's kind of a weird thing. I believe that David was talking to God, but it's not a commandment. That's not a commandment for or against abortion. He's just acknowledging that God created him. And why do Christians do that? Because there is no commandment against abortion in the Bible. Okay, if I wanted to say I'm against stealing, vote no to stealing or killing, all right? Or having sex with your neighbor's wife. And then I could point to any one of the commandments that says that. Don't have sex with someone else's wife. Don't steal. Don't kill. But if it comes to abortion, there is no passage like that in the Bible. There's the Exodus 21 thing about two men fighting, and if the fetus comes out, you give them a fine unless the woman dies, and they shall be put to death. I'm not going to get into that right now in this video. The other one I'm not going to get into is Numbers chapter 11, where if you think your wife's cheating on you, take her down to the priest and she drinks some poison. If she lives, she wasn't guilty. If she dies or the thigh swells up or whatever, then she's guilty. Here's something else, a topic to think about. David and Bathsheba had an illicit affair, right? Okay, that was David's terrible sin or whatever. And when he realized he was wrong, he was forgiven. There was no sacrifice or blood sacrifice or anything like that. But the baby that him and Bathsheba had did die slowly over the course of a week. Okay, it doesn't mean that God hates the baby or anything. It's just that this union was an abomination. And for whatever reason, God didn't allow the baby to live. So my question is this. What if Bathsheba had had an abortion? Instead of waiting around for God to kill the baby or allow the baby to die, what if she had an abortion? Do you think God would be mad? Think about that for a minute. If you're going to just take passages out of context and try to apply them to why you should vote one way or the other, we could also take Psalm 137, verse 9, which says, happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Click like if you believe. All right? So see, there's no critical thinking here. There's no, how does this apply to that? And why is this connected to that when it comes to cherry picking stuff from the Bible and Christianity? Anybody could do that. I just did it. Now, at one time in Christianity, in the Christian Bible, there was something called the Epistle of Barnabas, which was later taken out by Christians in the early, I don't know, like 4th or 5th centuries, I don't know exactly. But the Epistle of Barnabas, which is, Barnabas was a companion of Paul, if you don't remember, from the book of Acts. Anyways, in this Epistle of Barnabas, chapter 19, verse 5, it says, thou shalt not murder a child by abortion, nor again shalt thou kill it when it is born. Okay? And they took Barnabas out of the Bible. They could have left it in there and said, see, here's why I'm against abortion, and God is too, and based on this passage. But they took Barnabas out because Barnabas doesn't believe that Jesus was crucified. So they believe that he was like raised up to heaven. Kind of like Elijah in the book of Kings, or like Enoch in the book of Genesis. Okay, so it's more closely aligned to the Islamic version of Jesus than the Christian version of Jesus. So they took that book out. And gone is the one clear passage that they would have had to support abortion being wrong. Something to remember before we continue, there are no new commandments in the prophet section of the Bible, nor are there any prophecies in the wisdom literature of the Bible, like Psalms, Proverbs, things like that. All of the commandments are found in the first 5 books of the Bible. Okay? Deuteronomy is one of those books, and there's a commandment in here for the Jews that says in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 16, however, in the cities of the nations that the Lord your God has given you as an inheritance, you must not leave anything. Don't leave anything alive that breathes. You must devote them to complete destruction. And I guarantee you that there were pregnant women that were slaughtered there. If you're just going to look at a passage out of context and try to convince people that that's why you should believe the same things you believe, because this passage says this, then I could use that passage to say not only is abortion permissible, but it's necessary, right? Which is a stupid way to read the Bible. Let's look at some more passages. Joshua 6:17. The city and everything in it must be devoted to the Lord for destruction. The only person that they spared was the prostitute. Go figure. Now, if we were going to legalize prostitution, I might post a meme of that passage and say, God saved the prostitute, therefore God is all for prostitution, right? In Judges chapter 21, verse 11, it says, utterly destroy every male and every woman who has slept with a man. But the virgins you are to keep alive. How do you think they tested to see if they were virgins or not? And so you know that pregnant women were the first to go because it was obvious that they had had relations with man. Okay, how do you check for people that don't appear to be pregnant? Well, that's, private, right? You'd have to make sure the hymen was intact if you want to be specific and graphic. Now, in some of these passages I'm going to show you, it's not God commanding people to kill children and eat them. It's simply pretty much God is saying, look, here's the commandments, do these things and don't do these things. And people aren't following God's commandments, so it leads to a lot of bad things, just like smoking leads to lung cancer, right? And so you can't say God's the bad guy because he's the only one warning you against smoking. Anyways, Hosea chapter 13, verse 16. Samaria will bear her guilt because she has rebelled against God. They will fall by the sword, their little ones will be dashed to pieces, and their pregnant women ripped open. God predicts as far back as Deuteronomy. Chapter 28, verse 53, it says, you will eat the fruit of your womb. Think about it. They're so hungry that they're going to eat the own fetus that comes out, or the child, the flesh, the sons and daughters. Deuteronomy 28:56, the most gentle and refined woman among you, so gentle and refined, she would not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground, will begrudge her husband she embraces and her son and daughter. What are they going to be fighting over? In verse 57, it says, the afterbirth that comes out from between her legs and the children she bears, because she will secretly eat them for lack of anything else in the siege. So they're going to be fighting over the fetus because they're so hungry. Oh, and as far as the flood, remember the flood in Genesis? I can guarantee that a lot of the people that were killed in the flood were actually fetuses inside of pregnant women, right? So see, I could take any one of those passages and say, oh, I'm all for abortion because the Bible is all for abortion, right? Take something out of context, try to apply it to your views, your opinions.